So when I'm starting a business from zero, this is the first step that I take. And this is exactly what we do with some of our clients within our program. So ultimately, the ingredients you need for a successful business, in my opinion, is first of all the offer. So 1 is the offer. 2 is you need leads, okay? And when I talk about leads, what I mean by that is not just any old leads, that's not helpful, but qualified leads and engaged leads. So qualified, i.e. what I mean by that is they can benefit from your product or service, and engaged is that they actually are interested or want to learn more about your product or service. So that's the second thing. Third is then sales. So we can't build a business if we don't make sales. That is the lifeblood of any business, is generating revenue. Then we need to fulfillment of the offer. So providing that service or delivering a product that solves the problem. And then number 5 is kind of aftercare and client satisfaction. So let's say aftercare plus client satisfaction. Because if we have all of these, if we have a good offer, we have qualified engaged leads, we're making sales, we fulfill this offer here, and then we are providing necessary aftercare and making sure clients are happy with this fulfillment, then we've got a good business. We've got a business. So it's pretty simple when you put it on paper like that. But what is the most important part of all of this? And it's not necessarily they're all important. Don't get me wrong. You can't have one without the other. You can probably miss out the client satisfaction and aftercare, but over a long term, you're not going to succeed, in my opinion. But you've certainly got your offer, leads, sales, and then fulfillment. Okay, what is the most important factor within all of this? Most people would probably say leads or sales, but if we don't have a good offer, then we're never going to be able to get leads. It's going to make selling our services or product very difficult. And this is kind of like irrelevant then. So what I'm saying is the offer is the most important thing, at least when starting a business from zero. So this is kind of like the steps that I take when crafting an offer. Because the offer, if you think about it, it's what positions you. And I'll give you some examples of an offer in a minute. But how can anyone understand, what you do, what your service or product provides, what problems it solves, if you don't have a compelling offer in terms of your communication, your positioning in the market? And this is like, just people completely overlook this, and people they don't even think about an offer. It's just they describe their service, and it's just boring, and it's the same as everyone else. And so having a good offer, what that does, having like a blow people away offer, like no brainer, I need this, I want this, like there's absolutely no question. Obviously, if you've got qualified, engaged leads first, it's going to be a no-brainer for them to actually invest in that service or product. So what this does is it lubricates the whole sales process, because with leads, it stands out and speaks exactly to those leads or those prospects, which attracts them to your offer. So it makes getting leads a lot easier, because it speaks to them directly. It's like, blimey, that is exactly what I'm looking for, and it's very, very valuable, which then moves straight into sales. So it actually makes then making that sale, converting that lead or that prospect into a buying customer a lot easier. So it lubricates those two things. That's the first thing that it does, which increases sales, or let's just put sales. Okay, it increases the sales, and as I mentioned, it kind of is a way to position you in the market, different to other people, which is what you want. You don't want to be the same as everyone else, because if you're the same as everyone else, you'll get the same outcome and results as everyone else. And the majority of people in business, they're not. If you look at the statistics, this isn't just me talking about it, and it's not to say that I'm where I want to be or anything like that, but if you do the same as everyone else, you'll get the same results as everyone else. And so let's look at a couple of examples of what I mean by an offer. So example one, let's just take a smart home business. Okay, so let's say that we provide smart home services, and let's just put S for smart. Okay, smart home services. Now, your first example might be like, this is your offer now. We provide smart home automation services. Smart home automation services. Okay, that's pretty bland. That's pretty generic. That's probably what the vast majority of people who provide smart home automation services offer. That's how they position themselves. That's kind of their offer. If you look on their website, it would say something along the lines of that. So that's not great, in my opinion. This is just my opinion, Now let's go one above that, and we're expanding on that offer. We're packing it out. We're making it more compelling. We're talking more directly to prospects or our ideal clients. Okay. So it might be something like, we provide ready to go smart home automation solutions that save you time and make day-to-day living easy. Okay, so we provide ready to go smart home automation solutions that save you time and make day-to-day living easy. Now that's still not great, but it's a hell of a lot better than what we've got up here. And this is kind of like the process that you would go through is, at the core, what do you do? We provide smart home automation services. Okay, well that's very generic, and that's casting a wide net. Now, this next one, like, we provide ready to go smart home automation solutions, so kind of like ready to go, like you don't have to wait, that save you time. So these solutions are designed to save you as a prospect time. So a prospect that's seeing this messaging might be like, well, I'm strapped for time, like I'm a very busy person, I run 10 businesses. That's speaking more to me. And day-to-day living is a bit annoying at the moment. We've got 5 kids. My wife also works, so she's busy. So day-to-day living is pretty hectic at the moment. It is starting to talk more to that person that we're looking to attract. Now you can go further and further with this, and I'll come back to another more niche example in a bit, but hopefully that paints a picture at this initial stage what on offer is and the differences between how you position your offer. And just to note, like, the closer your offer can be positioned as a vehicle or pathway to escape a current situation or achieve a desired outcome, the better, and will be received better from the market. So like those 2 examples that we just had there, the second one, although it's not great, it's appealing more to the current situation of that prospect, of that lead, in terms of understanding them on a very surface level. How that business owner with 10 businesses and 5 kids, he's busy, so he doesn't have much time, which is painful, which he probably wants to get out of. and the day-to-day living is hectic at the moment with the 5 kids and wife working. So the offer is being more positioned in line with him in his current situation, and could be a solution to solve that problem. And as I touched on, offers are successful when they are perceived by the market to be unique and a different, better way to the competition. The people out there that do provide it, they all provide smart home automation services. So they're all the same. And if let's just say that they were all running ads on Facebook to the same group of people, the same pool of people, like how does that, the prospect just ends up going, or the lead just ends up going to like every single one of them, let's say, to see what they have to offer, and they all offer exactly the same thing. And then just how does the prospect then make a decision? Well, it will just come down to price, and that's where you don't want to be, because that's what everyone else is doing, is competing on price. And going back to what I was talking about earlier, is when you're competing on price, it just becomes a race to the bottom, and that's the state of the standard electrical industry at the moment, because the industry is just being flooded by people that can just jump on a 16-week course. There's all this information out on YouTube, so that people don't necessarily need electricians anymore, or as much as they did, and it's just driving the prices down. People undercutting people because they need it, to pay bills, to stay in business, to pay for employees. And it just there's only one way that it can go. Whereas if you differentiate and you position yourself as a very good solution to a specific person, and this is where we're going to get to, person with a specific problem, then money doesn't come into it as much, because it's the confidence that you solve their problem and have the right solution. And another thing is a good offer. I can't remember where I've heard this statistic, but I've heard it somewhere. Like, a good offer can easily 4x your business. Just having a good offer and actually being able to fulfill it. It's no good having an offer in writing, but then not being able to fulfill on it. Obviously, you need to back up what you say. You need to be able to walk the walk. When you talk about asymmetries, where you put a little bit in and get a huge amount out, that is like a massive, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, asymmetries in business, is having a ridiculously compelling, intriguing and appealing offer. And one more thing, the better your offer is, the less work, as I mentioned earlier, where it lubricates, lead gen, marketing, sales, the better your offer is, the easier it will make your lead gen, marketing and sales. So how do we get there? How do we get to a good offer? And I've kind of come up with this, and this is more tailored to the industry that I'm in, so controls, automation, BMS, smart home. And this is how I think about it: client, problem, solution. I'm going to run out of space. And then what we do here, and this is specific to this industry. Let's go back a sec. We go down here. So this is kind of industry specific, but this will be the product system. What I mean by that is whether what control system we're using. Maybe it's Loxon, KNX, Control 4, Schneider, Siemens, etc. And then what service are we providing, or product? Okay, and then this is kind of what is your offer. This is your offer. Your offer contains all of these things. Whether it's written about in your marketing, in your positioning, probably not. You don't talk about all these things. You're more talking about your client, their problems, and then you are that solution. So those are the key things when thinking about an offer. So let's break that down a little bit further. So first thing is client. And you can use this interchangeably with problem, because it might be that you don't know who your client is yet, but you do have a problem. But for simplicity's sake, let's just start out with the client. So this is where you want to work out who your niche is. Who do you want to serve? Okay, so niche. Well, what I'd recommend is have you been this client, or are you this client? Which then you can then better understand the person that you're providing a solution or service to. So I'd be thinking about that. That's the first thing. So if for me, for example, with what we have to offer is kind of technical training and then like business coaching, career coaching to engineers and electricians mostly, because I am an electrician engineer and I have tried or have been through the process of learning the technical and then growing my business and developing my career in controls, automation, BMS and smart home. So I've been through that journey. I know what it's like. I understand the people that are going through that because I've been through it myself. So that's where I would start. Like if you've been, ideally if you have been that person, or you understand that niche, that industry, that avatar, and then what you want to do is you want to actually research that niche to understand them. Now, obviously, if you already are that niche, are that avatar, are that client, then you have to do less research. But this is where it's boring work, and it might take quite a while before you are crystal clear in terms of what that client avatar wants. You ultimately want to research, what problems do they have, which is the second thing on that path. What problems do they have? And what pain are they in because of those problems? Because what that will do, understanding that, will then help us with the next stage, with the solution. Okay, so here we're already identifying the problems, which is the next thing in our list, which is here, and these kind of go hand in hand. But this might take a month, it might take 2 months, and what you're looking for is let's say that you speak to 100 people in this niche, in the specific kind of avatar that you want to speak to. But there might be avatars within avatars. So there might be, say, homeowners, females and males. There might be, then you focus on male homeowners, and then you might, your target audience might be male homeowners in, between the ages of 30 and 55. So you're getting smaller and smaller. But what you want to do really is, out of these 100 people, it might become obvious what are the top 3 to 5 problems that they keep talking about. Problem 1, problem 2, problem 3. There might be 20 problems in total that come up, but it might be these top 5 ones that just keep coming up. And as you're doing all of this research, you obviously want to be tracking the data. Then this is key, because if you don't track the data and what these problems are that keep coming up, then one, you'll forget, and you won't see these patterns. And these patterns are what is going to give you the confidence to then move to this next stage, the solution stage. The reason you do all of this is to give you confidence moving forward. When you start thinking about your solution, you start deciding on what product system to use, and then your service around that, and then you actually go to market, you've got the confidence that when you put this all together, it actually is what people are looking for, and that it solves the problem. And this might take 1 to 2 months before you've got full clarity on this. Depending on how active you are, how much time you spend doing this. But ultimately, you want to get to a point where you are confident that you understand the top 3 to 5 pain points, problems, of that market, of that industry, of that avatar. Because if I hadn't spent, for me personally, my journey here, if I'd not done this, I'd have created an offer that people wouldn't have wanted. So when I was starting out with what we do now, so training, coaching, if I'd have just listened to what I thought people wanted, I'd have created a training program on how to deliver locks on smart homes. But before I moved forward with that, and before I started investing time building out this program, this training, I thought, well, I better check. And that just led me down a rabbit hole where I spent about 1 month. I spent 1 month, pretty much 8 hours a day, amongst doing other things, but a big chunk of time invested in speaking to my market, understanding what they wanted. And I discovered that they wanted to learn how to read schematics. They wanted to learn how to design, specify control systems. They wanted to learn how to build control panels, how to test them, how to fault find them, how to commission them, but then also how to actually develop their careers in that space, like going from standard electrical engineer to becoming a BMS engineer or controls engineer, design engineer, PLC engineer, and also other people, like how do they progress their businesses. So thank God that I did that, and I actually collated the data. So I was absolutely 100% sure before moving forward and before spending, the second month, the third month, the fourth month, the fifth month, I was confident that what I was doing moving forward now was actually something that people wanted. So now we know who our client is, what their problem and pain points are, and these are kind of interchangeable. Because, as I mentioned, we might not know who the ideal client is until we start doing this research and finding out about these people and understanding their pain points and problems. Then it makes it much more obvious who that ideal client is that has these problems and pain points. So we've done that now. So now we've got to find out or think about how to solve these problems, and this is where the solution comes in. And that's pretty simple. We just come up with solutions to solve those problems, and that's then what we build. In terms of a product, a service. That's where it takes a bit of time. Certainly if you're creating something brand new from scratch. If you're offering a service, then not so much, because you can just go straight out and start providing that service, provided you've got like the right tools and understanding and equipment and training and expertise, etc. And then once you've come up with the solutions to those problems and pain points, then, and this is unique to our industry, we can decide on a product or control system to provide those solutions. And this is where it's important to decide, what if you're going to then invest time in learning a system and going on like a 3 to 5 day training, that it is going to be the right thing, the right system to provide that solution, which is ultimately going to serve these clients and their problems. So we want to be sure that is what you move forward with is the right product system. So it might, if you're doing industrial controls, it might be Siemens or Rockwell. If you're doing smart homes, it might be Control 4, it might be KNX, it might be Loxon. If you're doing BMS, it might be Trend, it might be Tridium, it might be KNX. So that's the next thing to decide. And then the fifth thing is, so now what service are you going to provide? Is it going to be complete end-to-end project delivery, or are you just going to specialize in service and maintenance? Maybe you're going to just provide design services, or specifying, design, panel building, and then that's it. So that's the next thing to decide. And then once you've got all of these things, now you can kind of really think about your offer and what that looks like, what that sounds like, how you're positioning yourself in the market. And with your offer, ideally, and this doesn't always work out like this to start with, because sometimes it's better to cast a wider net to just start getting customers in the door, but it does the more customers you serve, in terms of the more differences there are in the customers that you serve, the more complexity that it's going to add to your business. Ideally, you just want to serve one niche, one avatar, one type of client, and that's it. And just solve that problem really, really well, and just go deeper and deeper into solving that problem. Solve it in quicker time, less money, etc., and just be that specialist, that guy specifically for that person in that industry, solving that problem. So let's just go with an example, and this is a real world example of a client of ours who the niche was the Airbnb niche, okay? Because he was already an Airbnb owner, and his avatar or client was middle to high income men above the age of 45. Okay, and what he discovered whilst doing this research was the problems that Airbnb owners, men above the age of 45, they're the people that with middle to high income, they're the types of people that own Airbnbs. And then after doing the research, the problems that they had were with their Airbnbs were sort of water, just draw something. So water residue build up, not flushing the toilet, appliances being left on. So let's just say appliances being left on in the kitchen, whatever else, and needing to be there in person to unlock the doors. Okay, those are the three key problems that kept coming up. So he understood the problems, the pain points. He's now created come up with a solution. Yeah, so the first one would be automatic flushing that solves that problem, that water residue build up. Smart sockets to automatically switch off appliances, and then remote code access to solve that problem of having to be there in person to let people in. Now the solution that he chose was, I can't remember, Loxon or KNX. They can both do the same thing. And then the service was going to be kind of remote access, remote control, remote monitoring for Airbnb owners to monitor and control their Airbnbs remotely without having to be there in person. Okay, so that's kind of the service. So now let's think about the offer and how he's now positioning this all within the market and talking to his avatars, his prospects. So the previous example, if you remember, was pretty generic. We provide smart home automation services, because ultimately that's what we're doing here. It's smart home automation, but that was a pretty crappy offer. The second one was we provide ready-to-go smart home automation solutions that save you money, save you time, and make day-to-day living easier. So, it's a little bit crap, but it's a little bit better. Now, this next one is taking it one step further, aligning with everything that we've just talked about. And this, again, crafting an offer, you can go far deeper into it. And the better your service is, or what you can actually provide, the better your offer can be. It's how far you want to go with this is kind of up to you. But go as far as you possibly can with it, because that's what's going to make you stand out and be successful. So this new one is we assist Airbnb owners with property management by installing systems that automate their operations. Our solutions help reduce electricity costs, eliminate the need for in-person visits, and make day-to-day property management easier, more efficient, and affordable. So now let's just go back to that avatar at the start. That guy running 10 businesses, busy family life, at home with 5 kids. His wife works as well, and he owns a load of Airbnbs, and he is struggling with all those things that we discussed, those problems that we discussed. And he's just scrolling Facebook. This is just an easy example, just to paint a picture. He's scrolling Facebook, And the first ad that he comes up is, we provide smart home automation services. Like, he's just scrolling straight past that, because it's not talking to him at all. It just goes straight over his head. Now, the second one is, so this one, that's that one. The second one, again, he's scrolling Facebook, keeps scrolling, and the next thing that pops up is, we provide ready-to-go smart home solutions that save you money, save you time, and make day-to-day living easy. He might stop and read that, and he might think, oh, sounds nice. How can that save me money? How can that save me time? How can that make things easier? But he doesn't know that a smart home solution, a smart home automation solution, can be the thing that solves his problem, that he has with all of these Airbnbs. He's just not solution aware, let's say. There's different phases in the sales process where you go from like unaware to problem aware to solution aware to product aware to brand aware. Okay, so he's aware of the problem, but he's not aware of the solution. That there's a solution, that there's a product out there to solve it, that there's a brand or a business that can solve it for him. So it's still not good enough. But then he keeps scrolling, and then he comes across an ad, and this is quite long-winded. You would shorten the headline, but he ultimately stops to read this because it says, we assist Airbnb owners with property management. Right, that's speaking directly to him. He owns Airbnbs and he's trying to manage them all. So he's curious. He's like, wow, well, that's me. I need help managing them all. How is that done? And then it goes on to say, by installing systems that automate their operations. And he's thinking, wow, automate. That means that I wouldn't necessarily have to do it. That would mean that I could buy back some time. He's thinking this as he's reading it. And then it goes a little bit deeper. So our solutions help reduce electricity costs. Oh, that'd be nice. I didn't even think about the money that I was wasting through electricity, all these appliances being on. Eliminate the need for in-person visits. Oh, God, yeah, because that's been really annoying me, having to actually go to each one to let people in, by giving them a key. And then finally, to make the day-to-day property management easier, more efficient, and affordable, which is exactly what he wants. He lives a busy life, he just wants things to be easier, more efficient, and if it can be more affordable as well, fantastic. So hopefully that paints a picture just how important an offer is, and how when you're starting a business from nothing, from zero, that is the first thing that should be focused on. The steps around creating an offer, coming to a point where you understand what you're offering the market. But in that, you need to do research into, who that offer's going to be for, what client set that's for, what avatar you're serving, what problems, pain points they have, how you're providing a solution and solving those issues. Then you've got to think about, in our industry at least, is the product, the system that you're using, the control system that you're using, make sure that it can effectively be used for these, to provide these solutions and solve these problems. Then kind of what you want to do as a service provider within that, whether you do the whole lot, whether you just go really narrow and get really good at solving one problem within all of that. And then that's kind of what helps you then craft your offer. So anyway, hope that's been helpful. See you later.